Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care. Today I'm going to be talking a bit about fermentation, and we're going to be making two types of kefir together, a coconut water kefir and a goat's milk kefir. Kefir is a fermented beverage made with kefir grains. And kefir grains are not actually grains, they're little blobs that look kind of like grains, and they're actually symbiotic cultures of bacteria and yeast. And these bacteria and yeast feed off of sugar and ferment them into all sorts of beneficial byproducts like acids, enzymes, probiotics, and B vitamins, all of which are great for our digestive system as well as our entire body. So the great thing about making kefir at home is that it's not only really healthy, but it's also super simple and very cheap to make. All you'll need are some kefir grains and some sort of sugar-containing liquid. Kefir grains can either be purchased on the internet, in a health food store, and you can also get them from a friend, because every time these grains go through a cycle of fermentation, the culture will actually grow by 5 to 7%. So if you're doing this consistently, you'll start having really abundant, large cultures, which you'll want to give to friends because you can only consume so much kefir on your own. So today we're going to be making two types of kefir, a coconut water kefir and a goat's milk kefir. And the difference really comes down to the grains themselves, which are actually just two slightly different populations of bacteria and yeast, each which thrive in either water sugar environments or dairy lactose environments. As you can tell, my coconut water kefir grains are much more abundant than these sort of dismal looking dairy ones. This is because these dairy ones have just been sort of dormant in the fridge. I just purchased these, so this will actually be my first fermentation round of making dairy kefir. But you can see that the coconut kefir is already a lot healthier and happier after a few rounds of fermentation. Fermentation is the process by which sugars are converted to acid, and this is why even those with a lactose sensitivity can still typically consume milk kefirs. The lactose sugars in milk will actually be converted to lactic acid. What you'll need for this recipe, in addition to the grains and the coconut water or milk, will also be some sort of glass container in which you can ferment your kefir. Glass is preferable because the kefir grains themselves are acidic and a bit sensitive to certain environments. Reactive metals like silver, copper, and aluminum are not great with kefir grains. And plastic as well is not going to be great in a consistently fermenting acidic environment. Making kefir really is as simple as just adding the grains to your jar and pouring your liquid, whether it be coconut water or goat's milk, on top. If you are making a water kefir, you do have the option of adding in more sugar to heighten the fermentation. In this recipe, I've just used coconut water, which does contain some natural sugars, but you can up the fermentation by adding a few tablespoons of raw cane sugar. When making dairy kefir, you won't need to add any extra sugar because the lactose in the milk will be plenty for the bacteria and yeast to convert into lactic acid. You'll then cover these jars with either a cheesecloth, or you can just remove the rubber portion of the jars so that there's a little bit of air passage. You just want to leave the jars covered but not completely airtight. So after 1 to 2 days, you'll just remove the kefir grains from the kefir, the coconut water, or the goat's milk, and you can either consume it like this, which is called a single fermentation kefir, or you can let your goat's milk or coconut water sit for another 24 hours, which is called double fermentation. This is also the point, if you do want to double ferment your coconut water, that you could consider adding more exciting sugar additions like fruit juices or molasses. These ingredients are typically either too acidic or too high in mineral content for the kefir grains, but once you remove the grains and you just have a nice probiotic kefir going, you can add these things, and then during the 24-hour double fermentation period, the sugars in the additional fruit juice or molasses will also continue to ferment into acid, and you'll get even more benefits. It will start to become even more fizzy. So I definitely would recommend double fermentation. In the meantime, you can just store your kefir grains in the fridge in a covered ceramic or glass container. Or you can also just start another cycle and pour in some more coconut water in a new glass jar and some more goat's milk if you're making milk kefir or any type of dairy. So in that way you can just continue the cycle of kefir making. So happy kefir grains can last many, many years to come, and this is another reason why it's so cost effective to make kefir at home, because all you'll have to do is buy some coconut water or some milk. You can also use spring water. I would use bottled spring water and not tap water, because tap water, at least in the US, I know tap water often contains antibacterial ingredients, and the whole thing is that we want to promote bacterial growth and not kill it. So why make kefir? What's the big deal with this drink anyways? Well, it's a natural source of probiotics that are super densely packed with living organisms that are so good for us. There have been tests testing all sorts of kefirs, and obviously the type and the number of bacteria and yeast will vary across batches, but there's often populations in the 100 billions living in kefir, and this is far more than you'll get from any probiotic supplement, and they're alive, healthy, and active. Many animal studies have shown promise in using kefir to regulate cholesterol metabolism, and though these results have not been consistently replicated in human trials, it is something interesting that we can definitely follow up on with more research in the future. There's still a lot we don't understand between the gut, brain, and body interaction, but it has been shown that kefir has digestive benefits as well as immunoregulatory benefits, and actually can help people to have fewer allergy symptoms and have more efficient immune systems just by consuming this drink over a period of several weeks. I will, again, as always, list studies below, so do check them out if you want more concrete examples and information. A fun little tidbit that I found when doing research on kefir is that many studies have found that topical application of the kefir grains themselves on wounds will actually dramatically speed up healing time and also prevent infection. I haven't had any wounds recently to try this out on, but definitely if I get a breakout or cut in the coming weeks, I will be putting my kefir grains on it and seeing what happens. Once you start growing your grains and they become more abundant and you don't know what to do with them, you can consider making some face masks from the grain themselves, or even eating them, because the kefir grains have different probiotic composition than the milk and water that they ferment. I hope that you'll consider playing kitchen chemist and trying these recipes. They're so simple, so easy, and a lot of fun to play around with. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.